Joining me now is Michal Lev-Ram, a CNBC contributor, Fortune contributing editor who covers the defense space, also my friend and former colleague. Michal, good to see you here on CNBC. How is Silicon Valley responding to these Lutnick comments?
Great to see you, John. I don't think it would surprise you at all that they are not a fan. They are not at all in favor of this. They're very concerned about it, and they are taking it seriously. I spoke to several investors and startups, all of whom basically said that the government should not be in the business of picking winners and losers in the space. That's what VCs are for, right? And I had one investor, a defense tech investor, Josh Wolf from Lux Capital, basically tell me that, you know, the moment government takes equity stakes, you've just signed the death certificate for the next generation of defense unicorns. And here is a direct quote from him. Why would any VC fund Anduril when they know they're competing against companies where Uncle Sam is literally a shareholder? So, yeah, not fans.
So why is this, though? Because a lot of these VCs have been sounding a lot more nationalistic lately, and some of this government stake stuff seems to come out of that same idea of the need for government strength, government involvement in some of these technologies. How much of it might have to do with the idea that we've got to be able to trust, if you're outside of the U.S., that these technologies are working not just for the U.S. interest?
Yeah, I mean, just because you're all for American dynamism, which is, you know, one of the terms that's used by Andreessen Horowitz, doesn't mean that you're for nationalization of, you know, the incumbents. And in fact, what they want is more competition. Again, not the government taking equity stakes in some of the incumbents. They also, you know, people I spoke to don't think that this will necessarily solve some of the lack of innovation, the stagnation that we've seen from the kinds of companies that are being talked about here. And so they just don't see it as a solution. And in fact, they're really concerned that it could create a regression in some of the ramp up, the momentum that we've seen in both innovation and investment in the defense tech sector.
I imagine some of them might be lobbying David Sachs to say something about this.
I would not be surprised, for sure. Look, they've got the ear of D.C. That is something that, to your earlier point, we have seen happen, over the last few months. And so I am sure that they are expressing their opinions at this very moment.
All right. Michal Lev-Ram, thank you.